Soft skills can be learnt from books, during conversations, and in teams. We all need them, so how can you develop them? Let's explore. There comes a time when you really need to deep dive into a specific skill in order to make it a new reality for you. What I mean this week in my video here reflects the article that I wrote yesterday for LinkedIn, thinking about how we can apply soft skills in our lives. Maybe you've experienced before where you've received feedback from someone and they've suggested you need to develop your negotiation skills, or why don't you think about your communication skills? Go to Toastmasters. But that's all well and good, but what specifically do you need to work on? And rather than speaking about soft skills in some vague generality, it's worth considering that if you're serious about your personal development, how can you make these skills work for you? You can do that through using structure, using coaching, using mentoring. But even within a coaching process, we need the kind of structure that rubrics can provide. And today I'd like to deep dive a little deeper into this book that I've been using that's from some researchers at the University of Olomouc and has really helped us to understand. So if I'm working with someone now more concretely, I can be much more specific and help them to understand their soft skills. So just as a reminder, these are the 30 soft skills that throughout the course of this year, I'm really focused on. And we've already worked on things like adaptability. And in my university work, I'm absolutely aiming to make sure that I'm installing each of these skills into, well, not each of them, but several of those into our degree programs through our the way in which we're working with students, the way in which students are assessing themselves and providing the tasks and things that are needed. So if you haven't already downloaded the book, please, it's an open access source book on the Springer website, and this QR code will take you there. You absolutely need to think about that. So the book is called Soft Skills for the 21st Century, as you can see here on the left. And on the right, I've taken an example for the skill of negotiating. So again, think about, you've been told or suggested, or you would like to improve your negotiating skills. You could go to the internet, you could look at YouTube to your heart's content, but chances are you'll have pretty soon information saturation, and you won't have necessarily only on information transmission. And this ties a little bit back into what is Heutagogy all about. Self-determined learning says, right, what skills do I need to take on? How can I develop my behaviors? And what do I need to do to help myself? Over the weekend with my students, we started to look more concretely at the 5 dimensions for each of the soft skills, such as the example you see here with negotiating. There are 5 factors, therefore, to consider, behavioral aspects or dimensions that give us then a rubric from fundamental through to excellent. What I suggested for the students was to rate yourselves on how you feel about these particular areas. You could go one step further and even ask other people to rate you on this specific soft skill, and thus creating a 360 kind of assessment. Compare your answers. As an example here, you see the first 2 dimensions have been rated in the competent area, and there are skills behind those. The tactical employment, which is the 3rd dimension there for negotiating, maybe I feel I'm at a fundamental level, but I have proficient skills in adaptation and flexibility and collaboration with others. So you can see here a kind of mixed result that a person might say, well, what outcomes can I therefore achieve in the next 6 to 12 months? Where do I need to work? What are the behaviors that I need to exhibit in order to achieve that? This becomes much more concrete. And this is the way in which I would like to suggest that you use this rubric, and that I've been thinking about this for myself. So as a result, you might start to say, okay, I'm building my negotiation skills, but I need empathy. I need active listening. I need to develop problem solving and conflict resolution. So I could take the allied skills with negotiating in this instance and then decide to further deepen my self reflection by going specifically into those areas as well. So, all over, you see, we start to build a much more holistic picture for ourselves and focus more specifically on what it is we need to do. So, in the case of this tactical employment, I can then start to look at specific books, skills, find a mentor, find the authors who have created information on this, and then find ways to practice those skills after that. So I'm not just reading and I'm not just sticking to vague sort of general terms or writing this down, but not really knowing exactly what I can concretely do. So even if you're an expert in negotiation, that person would be able to rate themselves against this excellent column of the rubric. And the way this research was put together for this book actually involved the Delphi method and 3 different rounds of expert analysis with a series of experts from multiple fields within this area of soft skills. And so we don't know the names of the experts, but certainly we can rely on the research method as being quite robust and conclusive. So therefore, as you're thinking about applying these skills in your own life, excuse me, assess your own level. Use the rubric to give you a solid, firm foundation as to where you are. And be honest, because there's no point saying that you're an expert in negotiation skills when you're really more at a competent or at a fundamental level. You can review the behavior change when you look at the nuances within the rubric and what that means in real terms. And usually there's some guides there when you read between the lines of the words. And of course, seeking a coach, seeking someone else who's more expert could help you to bridge that gap as well. And that's what I mean by seek assistance. And of course, TED Talks are also a fantastic resource. There are many, many books on all of these topics individually. And so you need to also then find ways to practicing in easy steps, in small steps, planting the seeds in your mind that will help you to eventually grow that skill in a much more firm and concrete way is what's most important here. And we need to keep applying and assessing ourselves as we go along. So don't make it too long between assessments. So really use this rubric as a way to apply these skills in your life. And when you do, you'll start to see faster results. You'll be able to use these skills in your resume, on your CV, on LinkedIn, and more concretely be able to demonstrate how these skills are going to help you in your life. And at the end of the day, these soft skills will help you in your life. Soft skills are the ones that traverse all areas of life. They influence all domains, whether personal or professional. They help us across our careers, and across the different industries that we might end up walking in as well. So these skills are absolutely imperative to think about and develop. You don't need all 30, but you need to know which ones you need and therefore build on those for yourself. And I'm more than happy to share more with you about my own journey in a future episode.